Okay, and your pronouns?
He, him.
Okay. Uh, okay, why do you think that Trump would be good for the US?
So I'm an American citizen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living in Ireland, as I'm sure most of the chat is, and I voted for Trump. I voted um via my electoral ballot. So
Okay.
my reasons for voting for Trump is foreign policy, um, domestic policy, economic policy, really everything except climate change and um, maybe some minor discussions which I disagree with, but I'd say the majority I agree with. I'd say for foreign policy, things like peace through prosperity in Palestine and Israel, the Abraham Accords. He signed deals with I forgot the name of the Saudi prince to lower oil, etc. So the foreign policy was quite good. Remain in Mexico, etc. For domestic policy, I think those policies really alleviate and improve the states. And I'd say now as we saw the Biden administration really take down most of those constructive policies. We've seen high inflation, we've seen harder costs of living on average Americans, and it's clear that Trump definitely has a negative impact for the environment, but it is a more positive. It's a sacrifice in the environment for, the costs of the average American.
Oh, wait, you think that the average American is going to benefit more under Trump than if Kamala had gotten elected?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
How so?
I mean, Kamala was, she was trying to impose price controls on grocery prices, which is ridiculous. Anyone with basic
Wait,
economics would
Trump
realize
also
how.
no, 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 no,
Um,
hang on. Trump also ran on doing that.
no, he did not. No,
Yes,
he
he
did
did.
not.
Yes, he did.
Okay, what was the policy?
Well, I mean, Trump doesn't have any policies, but he was at
Of
a.
course he does. Of course he does.
No, of course he doesn't.
Yes, he
There
does.
was a
Hold on. Can you can't name any Trump
you're
policies?
gonna no, you're gonna let me answer the first bit, and then we will move on. He was
Yeah, go ahead.
speaking at
Go ahead.
a rally, and he was talking about the high prices of everything, and he said that it was something that he was going to do on day one.
Yes, I think that's an exaggeration, and I think he's wrong
Also,
from
he
saying
just
that. I think
so
a
he
lot.
lied then.
Yes, if you want to say he lied, do I believe that he will do it? I do. Do I think he'll do it in the first day? I do not. So again, Trump likes to use exaggerated language when he says the Ukraine war will be solved in 24 hours and stuff like that. Obviously, that wouldn't happen. I think Trump likes to rally his supporters, a big cult-like following, which I do think is a big problem in the States. But I do think it will be solved eventually. Maybe not in 24 hours, but we're gonna see it in the next, couple months or maybe year.
Okay. Um, I mean, wow, foreign policy. What do you think of him essentially trying to kind of retroactively take control of the Gaza Strip?
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. So I talked a little bit with an Israeli friend of mine, and to be honest, I was very against this policy at first because I don't. It looks very guilty for the states in Israel displacing the Palestinians. It looks horrible. My Israeli friend was quite pro for the policy. Right now, I'm sort of mixed, but I've heard that it can be positive if if it's investing in Gaza, if it's creating job opportunities. You know that 40% of Gazans are unemployed. So if it is bringing job opportunities and investment into Gaza, I do think it's positive. But at the same time, displacing the Palestinian civilians, moving them away from their home, I do think it's horrible. So I don't think it's achievable. But if he does, I mean, I'm sort of mixed on that topic.
All right, okay. Well, look, I mean, I kind of have to give you credit where it's due in the sense that like you are against that like that move. So yeah, no, I mean, okay, I mean, like, kind of sticking with foreign policy. I mean, like, are you not at all concerned that he is like essentially, even like maybe not literally, but essentially threatened war with Greenland, with
Panama,
Canada,
yeah.
with like all of these different places, saying that Canada is going to be the 51st state, that he's going to take over, he's going to buy Greenland. That, yeah, I mean, like, does this not at all? I mean, look, he ran on being the anti-war candidate, and it's all he's been talking about since he got elected. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I'll
every
respond
day.
because I'll respond absolutely because I think when you said that he is advocating for war, I think that's a gross exaggeration. And if you were to cite a source on the quote, he would say he would not be saying that at all. So I'm going to ask for a source on where he actually, I think he was asked whether or not he would impose force on these companies, military force and an invasion, and he refused them. He takes
No, he didn't. He said he wasn't
in the
gonna
war, like,
rule it out. He
oh,
was asked
absolutely, I am sure.
he was asked in a press briefing, when the interviewer asked him, or the person asked him, if when talking about kind of Greenland, are you talking about just economic sanctions, or have you ruled out force? And he said no, that he has not ruled it out.
Yeah. And okay, I don't think he said that. If he did say that, I would disagree with him. I'm very open. I have no problem disagreeing with Trump. I'm definitely not trying to support him at the end of the day. But I really do think that, especially when it comes to Greenland and Canada, most of the negotiation tactics for his, 51st state or whatever plan is economic action. It's not invading. I don't think they would invade Panama or Greenland or Canada. They would impose tariffs. They'd impose, trade wars on these countries to sort of pull their hand into his direction. Which, to be honest, if we look at foreign policy, like we're on the topic of foreign policy, when we look at Colombia and the tariffs on Colombia, when we look at the tariffs on Mexico, already we're having a strong response in support of those tariffs. Mexico deploying the 10,000 troops to the U.S. southern border already, not for anything in return, just an extension, just a 1 month, pushing away the tariffs, the 25% tariffs for a month. Already, that's positive for the American citizens. That's good for the fentanyl crisis, etc. We saw Colombia, that's now helping the states to deport back the illegal immigrants that came from Colombia. All of the tariffs that he's imposed so far have been beneficial, and obviously the tariffs imposed by Canada, you've seen a massive Canadian dollar crash, and the US dollar is continuing to trade strong. I really do think that when it comes to tariffs, a lot of people like to say that tariffs are inflationary. And they are short-term inflationary. In the long term, driving the businesses, or driving the choice back to the U.S. businesses, is always positive. That's seen when Trump imposed the tariffs in 2017. All of the tariffs that Trump imposed in his first term were kept under the Biden administration. I thought they were inflationary. I thought they were horrible. I thought they were so horrible. Why didn't Biden take them down? That's something that, again, I like to refer back to a lot of Biden supporters, which I haven't found a strong response to, unless you can enlighten me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do definitely think that Biden should have gotten rid of some of the tariffs that he put on 100%. Yeah, I mean, like, but what I have also seen is, and this is just kind of in regards to Mexico and stuff like that, yeah, they had already agreed like last year to do exactly what they're doing now in sending people to the border. They had already agreed to do that. And
no, they had them on standby. They had the troops on standby. They didn't agree.
Yeah, they had them on standby because they had agreed to it last year. So essentially, Mexico played Trump 100%. They just played him.
No, I don't. I don't think that's. I don't think that's true at all. I mean, why would if that was on standby? Then obviously that would have happened. The 10,000 troops would have happened under the Biden administration, right?
No, because
But no, it didn't.
the
So,
policy hadn't been implemented yet. It had been agreed
so
to, but
see,
it
why
hadn't
is
been
this
kind
such
of
a
enacted.
coincidence? Yeah, but why is this such a coincidence that as soon as he comes in, now we see the positives?
Why
Is it
is it
just
such
such a coincidence that it just
Trump is going to take credit for
it
things
just
that
so
other
happened to
presidents did?
enact?
That's not a coincidence. That's who he is.
Hold on, you literally just said that they had the 10,000 troops on standby a year ago. Why wasn't the 10,000 troops released under the Biden administration and they took credit for the 10,000 troops? Obviously, as soon as Trump goes in, there is some sort of factor that allowed Trump to, take advantage of the 10,000 troops on standby.
Yeah, because he was going to put tariffs on him, and then Mexico, knowing
Thanks,
that
Jenny.
he's an idiot, came back to him and said, "Well, look, if we send troops up to the border, can we put a pause on this tariff?" And then Trump agreed to it, but they had already agreed to do that anyway.
Yeah, but that's nothing but positive for the American people. Can we not
I
agree?
didn't say that it wasn't positive for them. I'm just saying that this was already in agreement a year ago. So Trump is now taking credit for something that Biden did, which is not like a rarity. He spent 4 years taking credit for shit that Obama did.
Like, can you give me some examples?
The economy that he was left.
Yeah, can't you say that about every president that succeeds another president?
They take credit for the previous administration's economy? No, not necessarily. No. What?
I mean, that's
what economic policies did Trump pass?
Okay. He tariffed the Chinese steel, so America is now one of the biggest exporters of steel. So that's positive for the economy. He imposed less regulations on the economy. He lowered oil prices by the deal with the Saudi person that I can't name. Lowering the oil is lowering gas prices is obviously positive for the American economy, as it's literally just based on oil prices in general. That's why as soon as Trump took office, or as soon as Biden took office, we seen the huge surge in oil prices because of the Nord Stream pipeline, which miraculously got blown up. So obviously, it's hard to think, because I'm trying to see your perspective here on how Biden is better and how, Biden's term was better. But obviously, you can't just say that, under Trump's term, it was all a coincidence that there was lower gas prices. It was easier to buy a house and compared to wages. Like, all of these things were better for the American public. And then as soon as Biden took over, there was high inflation. Yes, the stock market's great, but apart from that, the gas prices, the housing costs, the cost of living is absurd. So I'm arguing for the average American here. For the average American, obviously Trump's term was better.
Okay, so I may have not misheard you, but misunderstood you.
Sure.
Did you just make the case that it was easier to buy a house under Trump's last administration only 4 years ago?
Yes, compared to the wage take-home pay, the wages in proportion to house prices were easier to afford, if you can understand.
The federal minimum wage hasn't been increased since '08.
Hold on.
it
What are
has
you
less-
talking
it
about?
has-
Federal minimum wage. We're
it
talking
has-
about take-home pay, wage take-home pay.
What? Yeah, and the minimum wage should absolutely impact how much you're taking home. I hope you would agree with that.
Do you think everybody in the States is on minimum wage?
No, I
No.
don't. But
Yeah.
no, I
Okay.
don't.
So
But
so then
the
why would
vast
it
majority of
impact the
people,
whole?
the vast majority of people who are looking to buy their first home, not maybe necessarily on minimum wage, but that there are how many people in the U.S. who are only earning minimum wage? What is it, like 60%? No, no, I don't think it's 60, but I do think it's like 50% of the
60
country
is absurd.
is earning $30,000 a year or
Absolutely not.
less.
I think that's
Where
grossly
60,
exaggerated.
where 60,
But I
where
do.
60 was coming from is that 60% of Americans cannot afford more than a $400 emergency. But people
Hold
had
on.
more
So
buying power
just
4
to
years
rephrase
ago.
on the minimum wage. Do you believe that increasing the minimum wage would be beneficial for the American economy?
Yes.
Okay, in which states?
In all of them?
Okay, so in California and New York, they raised the federal minimum wage to, I think it's like 17 or $19 an hour. What that drove was mass businesses to leave California and New York. We see mass businesses in California move to states like Texas, states like Florida, states like Arizona, where the minimum wage is lower because they can't compete. The small mom and pop shop, the small businesses obviously are, it's like the costs of labor are a lot higher, so it's only the big multinational corporations that can afford to hire in those areas. So obviously in California and New York, raising the minimum wage was negative for business, it was negative for jobs, it was negative for the American people. Yes, you can argue in Texas, in whatever, we can raise the federal minimum wage, but it doesn't really matter because nobody is on a minimum wage of $7 an hour in those states, in Texas and whatever. It's just not common at all. There's McDonald's are paying $13 an hour, while the federal minimum wage is 7. So there is no point of raising the federal minimum wage, especially in those states like California and New York, where you just said that they need a raise in all of them.
Okay, so couple things. Minimum state wage is not the same as is not the same as the federal minimum wage.
Yes,
and
correct.
there have been how many businesses that like in those kind of states that have advertised, say, like $15 an hour when you're starting out, and they have had literally thousands of applications. This is so like obvious of a not only a trend but also a need for a higher minimum wage.
Oh, okay. I don't know where you're getting that information from.
The minimum wage was always supposed to keep up with the minimum cost of living. That's not going out to eat every single night. That's not going on holiday every year or even every 2 years. That is the minimum amount that you need so that all of your bills are paid. If you have a medical emergency, you're not going into mass amounts of debt in order to pay it. And that you have enough at the end of each and every month to maybe to save, or maybe to have a splurge or two. That's what it was supposed to do. The minimum wage in the US now has less buying power than it did in the 50s.
Nobody's on the minimum wage. Nobody's on the minimum wage. If you're referencing the $7 an hour that's in most red Republican states, nobody's on that. There's all
Okay.
McDonald's and
So
low wage work is way more. It's like 13 or 14.
You just made the claim that nobody in the United States is on the minimum wage. Do you really
Okay,
want to
I'm
make
gonna
that
say
argument?
it's very, very few people. I'm saying it's very, very few people. If there are people that are on the like the federal minimum wage of like $7 an hour, it's in extreme rural areas. It's not common at all for people to be on $7 of wage at all.
Do you not think that should be like increased, like at all, even?
See yeah, I think, to be honest, minimum wage, yes, I agree with what you said previously on what it was supposed to do, and it was supposed to make a good, living for the person to afford their housing, etc., and most of the normal costs of a average American. But to be honest, in economics, you know, supply and demand, obviously, if there's a lot of demand for labor, the wages will increase. So the market can regulate, wage prices
That's
accordingly.
that's
The
actually
reason why,
that's actually not true. If there is a low
it's
demand,
absolute.
if there is a low demand for the work, then the wages are going to increase. If there's a high demand for
Yeah,
it, then they
but
can
if you hold
then
on,
they can
think
charge
about
whatever
it.
the fuck they want.
Let okay, let's go for your example then. If there's a low demand for work, then they charge super cheap. Obviously, the workers can't afford it, so they can't. If they work or if they don't work, they're probably going to end up on social security anyway because that they can't afford their bills. If we increase the minimum wage, it's going to be harder for small businesses to hire because of the increased cost. There's going to be more unemployment because obviously, if the wages increase, there's going to be more demand for labor, which means there's not enough supply for that meets the demand, and there's going to be more unemployment. So, going down the government regulation route of just limiting the government on, imposing restrictions on small businesses, regulation as a whole has been negative for, the economy. That's the whole reason why America is so incredible and the economy is so great in America, is because obviously, low regulation, low taxes, low government intervention. You have multinational corporations, you have capitalism like at its core that, drives innovation and drives jobs and work opportunities and, better standard of living. Going down the route of the minimum wage and, accessing it through the government, I think is a real slippery slope where it doesn't suit America. It's Donald Trump is bad for the US. That's what written behind you. You have to apply to the US standards in the US economic system. I really don't think that, sure, raising the minimum wage maybe or may not help, but that's not the point of the US in the first place. The US, the first place, is based on a free market without government intervention. Do you understand?
The U.S. government is based. What I'm sorry. The U.S. government is based on a free market.
Hold on. The US economy is mostly based on a free market, low government intervention, low regulation, low taxes.
Okay, so then why do you have so many monopolies as a business over as a businesses over there?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. And that's because of the lobbying system, the political lobbying system in the state, which is a massive part that we need to reform. The states is not a good, like a perfect system, because obviously this lobbying system where, monopoly corporations can pay politicians not to fix regulations. That's something that's negative. Obviously, that's why the healthcare industry is so horrible. They can just pay the politicians more to exploit their consumers. So that's why monopolies have, consumer exploitation power. The solution to that is to get rid of the lobbying system. We can talk about the lobbying system if you want, because that's where I think I disagree with the states and their system. But generally, the whole reason why the states became an economic superpower was because of the low taxes, low regulation, low government intervention. That's why the economy is so great in the first place. Here in Ireland, obviously, the tax rates are a lot more high. There's a bigger government, there's more government services, etc. Running down the slope of the government allows for less efficiencies. For example, managerial class, where every 4 employees of a government, there has to be one manager that manages those 4 employees, but doesn't contribute to the output of the government. That's a leakage. So every dollar that's paid in taxes, we lose because we're feeding someone that doesn't output for the society. The bigger and bigger governments get, the more and more taxes are paid, the more they become inefficient. That's why low government, low regulation, and low taxes, like I've been saying, is so beneficial for the growth of the US economy.
Okay, so just to kind of circle back to the minimum wage, right? So
Sure.
you're living in Ireland right now. Why do we have
Yes.
a higher minimum wage at a population of not even 7 million people, and the US somehow can't manage that?
Can you
Because
repeat the question, please?
so why do we here in Ireland have a high, like, even when you account for the, like, euro to dollar conversion, why do we have a higher minimum wage than the US does? Considering that we also have the likes of your mom and pop shops and the like.
Um,
Like,
I think
like
that's because
essentially,
hold on. I
my
think
kind
that's
of
because of the people. Let me answer the question.
okay.
I think that's because the people wanted a higher minimum wage. Does that mean that's right? Does that mean the population, the majority of the population that votes for a higher minimum wage is correct? No, obviously the minimum wage as it is right now, I think it's like 12 euro or so, or 11 euro. I'm not sure. That's not a living wage. That's not something where you can rent an apartment, you can live on, etc. The massive inflation, massive reason why the cost of living is so exorbitant is because of, again, government spending, which all roots back to the government.
Well, I mean, essentially, what my kind of question was going to be to you is, how come we can afford it and the US can't? Like, how come small businesses here can afford it, but in the US they just simply can't?
Oh, hold on. In the US, a lot of businesses are not paying $7 an hour. They're paying $13 an hour. So they can afford a higher wage. The reason why it's the average like wage for entry jobs is $13 an hour, not $7 an hour, is because there's a lot of supply for jobs and not a lot of demand for labor. Obviously, supply and demand, it will drive up the prices of wages to attract workers. It's not like we can afford it or not. For example, if I were to move the $7 an hour to $13 an hour in the States, that doesn't change anything because the States are still employing people at $13 an hour. It's only when it goes above like the $13 an hour, the average market rate in a free market, then we start to see unemployment and we start to see negatives. That's basic economics. I'm in sixth year, and right now we're literally learning that in economics. Raising the minimum wage is negative if it exceeds the free market rate.
So why shouldn't the US then raise the federal minimum wage to say $15 an hour? Because if it's going to be guaranteeing, even if it's just an extra couple of dollars per hour, but I mean, if you are getting the people who are on that federal minimum wage, if you are now putting so much more money into their pockets, I mean, even coming from like a capitalistic perspective, which I am not, you would be putting an awful lot more money into people's pockets. And what do people, especially younger people, say kind of 16 to 24, I think is that kind of age bracket. What do those age group of people do when they have more money in their pocket? They spend it. They don't keep it. They don't save it.
Yeah.
They don't put it in a fucking trust fund. They spend it. So that would be surely then from a purely capitalistic economic point of view, that would be boosting the economy. No?
No, it's not, Stephen, and I'll explain why. Because obviously, if I wanted, of course, I wanted
money in people's pockets
society.
so that they then spend it isn't boosting the economy.
No, I'm saying that increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour would not benefit the economy. Again, you're trying to misrepresent what I'm saying. The reason why it wouldn't benefit the economy, Stephen, is because obviously, if we impose a $15 minimum wage, in fact, we can go to any figure on the planet, Stephen. You think of 30, of course. Do I want Americans to be paid $30 an hour or $40 an hour? Of course. But if we do limit those restrictions, it's not achievable. It's not realistic. We see more unemployment, etc. The reason why, as soon as we exceed the free market rate to $15 an hour, from 13 to 15, yes, the people that are employed will have better benefits. They'll have more money in their pocket. But again, those employees with more money in their pockets, it costs the people that lost their job because they can't afford the increase in prices. That's why it's the free market always rules over the government intervention. So it's people lose their jobs also. You're just thinking that everybody gets money in their pockets and we can go about our day, but that's not achievable. I wish it was, Stephen. I was on your side, but it's just not achievable. And again, there's going to be people that are going to be more like subject to job loss.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, it is absolutely the case that, I mean, like, especially in kind of, well, I mean, especially in red states, honestly, that if you were to raise the minimum wage, the yeah, I mean, yeah, you are going, not necessarily unemployment, but you are going to see an awful lot of kind of job vacancies, because the fact of the matter is that people are working two, if not three jobs just to support them and their family. If they are working two jobs at $7.25 an hour, and then you
They're
raise it to
not doing that.
15, then you only need to work one job.
No, no, you're grossly. Unfortunately, that's not the case. There wouldn't be a person that works two jobs at $7 an hour. They would go for the free market rate, which said before, which is around $13. So even though the federal minimum wage is $7, the firms employ at $13. So the two jobs would be at $13, not $7. So I know it's sort of hard to wrap your head around, because obviously this information, I'm sure, is new, but of course, like any government intervention, except a few, there are market failures like cigarettes and nicotine, etc., which we need government intervention. Apart from that, there's very few things that the government should intervene with. Like, it just doesn't. Everything balances out in the end. I wish we could raise the minimum wage to $30 an hour. All of a sudden, all the workers get $30. We have more in our pockets. There's more to spend, but that's not achievable, Stephen. Is what I'm trying to say.
I mean,
You mind if we move away to a different topic?
yeah,
Like, we can talk
sure,
about a lot of different
sure,
things.
sure, sure. Pick one.
Okay. I think immigration is another strong topic. DEI
Oh,
is another strong topic. Whatever you want to do.
DEI. The only reason that I am going down that route, I mean, this is absolutely nothing
Sure.
to with like you personally. It's just the last live that I did. I mean, I am going to say a good 80% of people just wanted to talk about immigration. I am like, it's not that I'm all out on that
Yeah,
topic,
that's
but
fine.
I've had my fill for a little while. So yeah, no, definitely DEI.
Okay. No problem. My stance on DEI is wrong no matter how it's implemented. If it's implemented a little bit, quotas for race, gender, sexuality, and sexual orientation is wrong. I think basing jobs and applications on anything except meritocracy is wrong. Meritocracy should be the sole reason for an application. All of the DEI initiatives we've seen in the Biden administration during the government has just brought a less efficient government, because obviously those quotas are impacting the quality of of the applicants that are coming through. That's it.
Okay, are you against DEI in all forms?
You're gonna have to list the forms, but I'd say yes.
Well, I mean, like in any way where kind of, a smaller group of people are therefore like more overrepresented than they necessarily should be.
I think that groups being over or underrepresented has nothing to do with the actual task of whether or not they are fit for the job or not. It should be based on meritocracy, not on representation.
Right. So, under that then, and under the kind of the goal of getting rid of DEI in all forms that it comes in, you should get rid of the electoral college and go back to the popular vote then, correct?
Well, the Electoral College, first of all, was an initiative to start the negotiations of uniting all the states into one country. Without the Electoral College system, there would be separate countries like Texas, etc., which has sought after independency previous in the past. Without this sort of Electoral College negotiation, there wouldn't be a United States in the first place. In fact, to be honest, it's a fair point, because a lot of people that bring up DEI like to bring up the Electoral College. I am not the biggest fan of the Electoral College. I do think that the popular vote is should be the system. But obviously I would rather America with 50 states and an electoral college system than an America that is 35 states and a popular vote system.
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to. You can maybe kind of forgive my even kind of partial ignorance in what uh, how is the electoral college keeping all 50 states together?
Yeah, because during the negotiations when the country was founded, the American government had to individually collect the states into one independent country. So what they did was negotiating the government influence per state. So we saw, whatever, 13 votes for Pennsylvania, etc., all around the different states, and they all negotiated their own number, not based in proportion of population. That's why, we see the states are collectively 50 states and not 48 or 37, and we have one state that's independent or not, is because they negotiating the like leverage they have in the American government. That's where the electoral college system stemmed from in the first place, was to gather the 50 states.
Right, but the electoral college was only implemented 10 years after the US was founded, so obviously they were doing a fairly good enough job in kind of gathering the states as they were in the first 10 years. So why did they then need the electoral college?
I mean, I don't think that Texas and all the rest of the red states would have joined if it wasn't for that system. I mean, I agree with you. I want to be
Okay.
clear, which is the premise of, is the electoral system fair? I'd say it's less fair than the popular vote system, in which I don't think, if we were going through towards the popular vote, I'm sure you're going to bring the 20 excuse me, the 2016 election up, but the electoral college system at least collected the 50 states in the first place, is my point.
Right. Well, okay. Well, I mean, even if I was to grant you that, I mean, like, doesn't that doesn't in any way, shape, or form like then follow that if you got rid of the electoral college like now or say tomorrow, that suddenly you're going to start to see states seceding from the union.
Yeah,
But then
and I do
absolutely
think
no way
that they
follows.
would. No, I do think they would. Texas has been known to try to become its own sovereign country before, and that's the same with a lot of red states, which don't have a lot of population, which don't have, comparative population per electoral college vote, if you understand. So yes, if the electoral college system were to be scrapped, all of the negotiations that happened at the start of the founding of the United States would be scrapped as well. So obviously, they'd go back to independent countries and not, the United States of America. That's my argument for DEI. I think, for example, one of the first things that you asked me was name, pronouns, etc., and we can go down the transgender debate. But after that guy was an idiot. That last guy that came up.
Well,
And
you said it, not me.
yeah, so unfortunately,
I thought it, but you said
uh,
it.
yeah, that guy was really fucking dumb. No offense to that fella, but he really was. When it comes to the DI initiatives and having quotas for misrepresentation, of course, it's not in proportion to the population. Obviously, 13% of the population are African American. Do I think that the proportion of candidates should be divided into each race, like Caucasian, Asian, Black, Hispanic, etc., 25% each or 20% each, even though that there's a 13% population. So obviously the standards of applicants would decrease, because you're judging on the basis of skin and not on the basis of meritocracy.
Okay, so if you had two equally qualified candidates, and one of them was white, one of them was Hispanic, and one of them was black, which one would you hire?
I think it would be if they're completely equally, um, uh, equally the same. It would be random because we don't judge on the basis of skin. Obviously, would I be racist and say the black person, or would I be racist and say the white person? Absolutely, just to tick a box and to tick the percentage quota. Obviously not. It would be random. For example, a lot of the quota systems we see in the States is that if they pass the bar, so if I'm applying for a job and I pass the bar to be employed, I could pass the bar and do excessive amount of work, and I'm Caucasian, but a African American can just about pass the bar. They will hire the African American, not the person that actually could provide more value to the government. That's purely based on racism, reverse racism, if you if yeah if you can understand, because unfortunately you're obviously basing it on the color of their skin, not to their production, like their like their contribution to the production process, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really long answer. Mine would be significantly shorter. So I mean, if you were to ask me the exact same question that I just asked you, I would say that I would either hire based off of experience. So if somebody has more job training or more job placement, more experience, then you would hire those. And on the basis that they too were all equal, well, then you would hire based on diversity, because diversity is not a bad thing. America is built on diversity. So if you were to say that diversity, equity, and inclusion is not a good thing, then one of the core tenets of what the US is built on, including the poem that is standing beneath the Statue of Liberty's feet, is also wrong and un-American.
No, I think you're misunderstanding the point here. DEI, as the name intends, diversity, equity, inclusion, is no problem. Obviously, I don't think any Republican would be saying negative towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. The DEI policies which have implemented have not seen diversity, equity, and inclusion, because if it was equity, which means that you wouldn't discriminate on the basis of skin, it would be solely based on meritocracy. But that's not what DEI represents in these days. Obviously, diversity is a big thing from America. America is the immigrant country, famously known as. There's no problem with immigrants. There's no problem with diversity, or I'm not saying that one race is superior to the other. I'm just saying that when it comes to applications for college, for jobs, etc., it should be based on whether or not you deserve it, not whether or not you fit a box because I'm African American, or I am gay, or if I am black, or etc. Or I'm a woman, for example. It shouldn't matter, because it should only matter if you can do the job the best. Do you understand? Because DEI is not a problem, but the policies behind it is the problem, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I did understand you, and I did hear you. Unfortunately, how old are you again?
I'm 18 years old.
18. So, as I said earlier in the stream, I don't know if you caught it, but I'm turning 30 this year. I've been streaming on various platforms since I was your age.
Man fitted.
And I can read between the lines, because what you just said there was that DEI essentially was making it so that if you hire somebody who is not white just for the sake of diversity, that the standards of employees that you are getting is therefore lessened.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Do you not even at all see the problem with that argument? You are essentially arguing that
I'm saying
you are essentially arguing that white people are the most qualified people
no. I'm
to
not saying
apply
that
for.
at all.
That is absolutely what you just said.
No,
It's absolutely
no.
what
You're
you just said.
you're grossly exaggerating what I'm saying.
No, that's
What I'm saying
absolutely
is
what you just said.
okay. Well, do you want me to rephrase or do you want to interrupt me?
You can rephrase if you want to, sure.
Okay, I'm gonna rephrase, which was obviously I'm not saying that a race is superior. I've said that before, and I'm gonna say it again. Obviously, it just should be based on meritocracy, not on anything else. There shouldn't be any basis. I'm being the least racist person here because I'm saying that it shouldn't be based on the color of your skin or your gender or your sexuality or whatever the fuck. Shouldn't be based on any of that. It should just be based on whether or not you deserve it or not. You spinning my language and saying, well, obviously I'm a white supremacist because white people are better. No, the population is like 60% white in the States. There's 13% black population in the States, let's say. If the quotas are 50-50 for black people and for black candidates and white candidates, obviously if you hire 50% black candidates, because of their lower population in proportion, their candidates are going to be less qualified for the job as the 67% because of the higher. I'm not saying that a race is better than the other. I'm saying because of the proportion of population, it's harder to find the qualified workers. Do you understand?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
And it's okay. So a number of things. I didn't bring up white supremacists. You did. I didn't accuse you of being that.
No, you were just implying that. That's all.
Well, I didn't imply it, but just however, just kind of moving on.
Sure.
When you are asked the question of if you have three equally qualified candidates of three different races, then it does absolutely matter how you answer that question.
What was my answer,
Steven?
Can you repeat it?
Well,
what was my answer?
Just for the sake of the audience, why don't you just kind of say it again?
Okay, I would say that if there was a black candidate and a white candidate and an Asian candidate or whatever gender or sexuality, and they are completely equally like worthy of the position, there would be no bias. It would be chosen at random. Obviously, if they're equally capable, it would be chosen at random. That's what I'm saying. That was my answer in the first place.
But if they are equally qualified, then why wouldn't you hire based on diversity? Because diversity is not a bad thing.
Okay.
At least
what
you
I'm
haven't
saying
made the case
is
that it is.
Yeah. Yes. I'm saying that when they're completely, perfectly, equally qualified, there should be no affiliation to race or gender or sexuality. I want to be clear about that. Here's where the problem of DEI lies. It's because when one candidate is more qualified than another, then it is based on the race of the individual. For example, if I'm a black candidate, and again, I'm going to repeat myself because I'm not sure you understand, Stephen, but if a black candidate was just past the bar and is qualified for a position, and a white candidate is past the bar and more and can do even more for the company, they're going to choose the black candidate. Because they're racist and because they're saying, okay, we value diversity, they can just about do the job. We're going to hire the black candidate, not the white candidate that could improve the company more because of the DEI programs. It's anti-meritocracy because you're basing somebody on the color of their skin and not their contribution. Obviously, the white candidate was more, they're more qualified for the job. But because the black candidate passes the bar just about, they are hired over the white candidate. That is racism at its core. That's why DEI shouldn't be imposed at all, because you're basing on the color of their skin or their race or their gender, or their sexuality, etc. When they're perfectly equal, it's random. But when they're not perfectly equal, which is in most, obviously it's very rare that they're all perfectly equal, then obviously DEI policies would be negative for the company. That's what we've seen in the Biden administration, when all the government representatives were hired, and they were hired on the basis of their skin, sexuality, and gender, which is racist.
I mean, I'm just still not hearing the bit where this is necessarily a bad thing. Not even in the sense of
I'm
what you've
literally
just said.
explaining it
Oh,
to
no,
you.
no, no. Not even in the sense of what you've just said, as if you have two differently qualified candidates, or if you have more, that's one.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, why is introducing diversity a bad thing? Assume
If
that all
diversity
candidates
trumps meritocracy,
are equally qualified. Assume that they are all equally qualified.
yes.
Then why is introducing diversity a bad thing?
So diversity would mean what in all the equally candidates? That you would vote, you would you would employ the black person? Is that what that means?
I mean, like,
Is
not
that what
even
you're saying?
necessarily the black person, but I mean, you were talking about Biden's administration, where yes, he had black people. He also had trans people working for him. He also had, people.
Yeah, but that was a factor of the application. That's why it's wrong. That's why it's wrong, because obviously you're not. If I'm okay, I'm gonna say this because obviously if I am qualified for the job, it should not matter whether or not I'm transgender, as you just said, or black or white or whatever. It's because I deserve the job the most. If there is another candidate that, is just about qualified for the job but is black, they're chosen because obviously their race matters more. The diversity, like you said, matters more than which candidate is actually more capable of the job than the other. That's why in the government we had some stupid people that were all, trans and gay and like different genders and different races or whatever, and not the people that were actually based on the proportion of the population, which was 66% white. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't seem like it, but yeah.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I just don't think that we're getting anywhere here, and it's not even backtracking, or it's not
Let's move on.
anything. It's not anything like that. I just don't think that we're getting anywhere. I mean,
Sure,
like, Biden
sure, let's move on.
hired a white transgender woman to be the be the head of health.
Yeah, but
and
they're
Human Services.
hold on.
So,
She's
I mean,
transgender. That's the thing. If she wasn't transgender, she wouldn't have been in the job.
But she was qualified in order to even be considered for the job.
Yes, but
That's
there is
the
a
point.
more qualified candidate that's not transgender. There's a more qualified candidate that's not transgender.
Also, on like the Supreme Court's
Okay,
appointees that Biden put forward, there were people, not you probably, hopefully, but there were people who were questioning their kind of qualifications. If they weren't qualified to be nominated for the Supreme Court, then
Okay,
they
sure.
wouldn't have been
Let's move on.
nominated for the Supreme Court. Like, it's just as
Yes,
simple
you're
as
100%
that.
right. Let's
That's
move
my
on.
point.
Okay, what other topics do you want to talk about, Stephen? We can talk about domestic policy, foreign policy, again, the economy if you want. I would say immigration, because obviously illegal immigration is a big problem. We can talk about both administrations.
I don't know.
Whatever
man.
you want. I really don't mind.
You had mentioned trans people earlier. Let's fucking go back to that, because you had said that you don't like.
Okay, let's go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you want to know? I'm all yours, Stephen.
Well, I mean, like, oh, okay. Do you believe that trans women are women?
No,
Why not?
because they do not have an XX chromosome.
Do all women have XX chromosomes?
Yes,
Really?
because that's
Are you
scientific.
sure about that?
Yes, that's scientific. That's scientific evidence.
Are you
course.
sure? Are you really sure about that?
Now, Stephen, this is what you're going to bring up, because I already know your argument. You're going to be argument that there is one case out of like 10 million of a woman that was, some sort of chromosome modified, and all of a sudden that speaks for all women. That's like, obviously, on average, women have XX chromosomes, they have vaginas, whatever, and men have XY chromosomes, and they're men. That's scientific fact. That has been scientific fact for thousands of years. Obviously, now that feelings have been a big part of mental issues, etc., people are getting away with the pronouns thing, as you just asked me when I came up here, etc., which is just not scientifically true.
Okay. So, you mentioned a couple of things there.
Sure.
So, It's not 1 out of 10 million. It is a little bit more common than that. And even if it wasn't, even if it was literally, it wasn't even 1 in 10 million. It was one person. What do you call them? Do you call them male? Do you call them female? So we can get on to that.
Yeah, yeah. And,
you
and I'll tell you.
that people. Hang on, because I'm not finished. You also said that people have been talking about the chromosomes as if that's been the basis for thousands of years. Chromosomes were only detected or like basically found in like what, the 70s, so it's not thousands of years, and there was obviously women before that, so we used a different standard. There is so much more that goes into what a woman is than just based on your chromosomes.
Okay, what's a woman? Hold on. What's a woman without saying the word woman? Explain to me what a woman is.
A woman without using the word woman, it is a adult member of the human race.
Why can't that be a man? Men are adult members of human race.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, I would use.
Okay, that's so.
Well,
that's so.
If you want me to not use the word, no. If you're not no, so female and male are sex terms. Men and women are gendered terms. So, do you want me to define a female or do you want me to define a woman?
Define me both, actually.
So female is what I've just said to you. That would be an adult member of the human race, and the definition would be all like exactly the same then for male as well. Woman, I mean, do you want to go?
What?
Jesus,
hold on.
Do you want
female and male have the same explanation?
An adult member of the human race. Did you not only 30 seconds ago ask me could that definition not?
Yeah, but they're the same definition. Men and
adult member of the human race. Think, yes, that would.
What's your source for this, Stephen?
That would fit both me and any woman. An adult member of.
Okay, so there's no differences.
Race.
There's no sexual organ differences. There's no hormone differences.
You can get into that if you want to, but I mean, I'm giving you just like a quick definition.
Okay.
Sure. You can go into you can then ask a follow-up question and go, well, what are the differences? And that's when you can get into sex organs, or you can get into chromosomes, or any of those other sorts of things. So I mean, like, what is a woman? I mean, you can go with the historical role, you can go with the dress sense, you can go with the unique kind of challenges that they face in day-to-day life versus men. I mean, like, you can go down a number of different avenues.
Stephen, you mind if I ask you a question? What's your pronoun, Stephen?
He, him.
Okay, so if you were to say they, them, or you were to say she, whatever the fuck, why should I adhere to those pronouns? Why should I say and be respectful towards those pronouns? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, why should I be respectful for you saying that your name was Luca? What if I decide to call you Bob? Like, it's just a dick thing to do.
Yeah, that's no problem.
It's just a dick thing to do. Well, okay, if I was to change it up then, and I was to insist to refer to you as she or her, it's not the correct appropriate identifiers for
Stephen,
you. So saying to somebody who identify, I'm answering your question if you'd let me. So somebody who identifies as they, them, if you insist on using he or a him, or she or her, I mean, it's not the correct way to identify them. So and I mean, also, Stephen, it takes a second thought. Just don't be a dick.
Okay, so Stephen, if I were to say my adjectives are beautiful and handsome, you can only call me beautiful and handsome.
You don't get to choose your own adjectives.
But you can choose your pronouns. Hold on, you can choose your pronouns.
Yes, of course you can choose.
Okay,
your pronouns.
Stephen, hold on. Wouldn't it be a dick move if you wouldn't call me beautiful and handsome, right?
No,
that would
because
be a dick
you don't
move.
get
Obviously,
to choose. You don't get. Oh my God!
So you don't get to choose your adjectives, but you do your pronouns.
Go back to like remedial English class to learn the difference between adjectives and pronouns. Adjectives are descriptive words. Pronouns are inherently personal.
Yes. Again,
right.
It's
so you,
literally.
Right. So you
hold on. You can go back to the
over an adjective. You do claim ownership over a pronoun. There is a difference.
Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. Claim ownership? What do you mean claim ownership?
In the
Since
same
when
way
can you
as
claim ownership?
in the same way as that you just asked me what my pronouns were, and I said he, him. That is me claiming ownership of those pronouns.
Okay, hold on. Let me call you she, them. All of a sudden, that ownership is mine. I can call you whatever the fuck I want.
No, because
Hello,
that is
she-
not
she,
that
her.
is not
Yes.
the pronouns that
I stole
I
your
identify
ownership.
with.
Okay, but that's not the adjectives that I identify with. So we're both being dicks to each other. Why should my freedom of speech right be less important than your right not to be offended?
Because wait, what? I'm sorry. What?
Okay, I'll talk a little slower, Stephen. You want me to adhere to your pronouns, or else you'll be offended. Why does your feelings is more important than my right to freedom of speech and just to call you whatever I want?
Because your freedom of speech can be restricted or even taken down, or can be freely encroached upon in a number of other circumstances.
So if I don't call you by your pronouns, you're going to restrict my speech, correct, Stephen? That's what you're saying.
Well, I mean, I could give you a dickhead answer, and I could say yes, because if you don't, I'll kick you. And now I'm not going to go down that road. But I mean, like, do you not agree that it is a crime to purposefully cause a scene such as yelling fire in a crowded theater that could then do harm to other people? For example, you can be arrested for inciting violence. That is an encroachment on free speech, right? But you would, I imagine, agree with that.
Hold on. Stephen, I'm trying to understand your perspective.
Okay. So
hold on.
if
You
you're
mind if I
back in the
just say
States,
something real
if you're
quick?
back in the States, right, and you have freedom of speech, which is incredibly respected, right? Wonderful work.
Sure.
And you're on the street,
Yeah.
okay, and somebody comes up to you and they threaten to kill you, okay?
Yeah.
Do you think that if you were to call the police in that scenario, that they would say, well, he has the freedom of speech, so sorry? Or do you think that they would arrest him for inciting violence?
Well, I'd say that there is laws for public disorder, disorderly conduct. Obviously, threatening to a certain extent is wrong. I agree with you here, but you're acting like if me calling your pronouns like something different is yelling bomb
I'm just going to
or
ask you
whatever
the same
fire in a
question when
crowded
you're
theater.
finished.
What do you want me to say? I'd
Do
say that
you
if you're
think
inciting
that the
violence, I
police
think
would
it's
tell
wrong.
you to get over yourself, or do you think that they would arrest him?
If you're inciting violence, I think they would arrest him. But
Right.
I
so
don't
is
think that
not-
calling
is that
pronouns
not
different
a
is inciting violence.
Is that not a suppression of free speech?
Yes, I think it's a marginal
Okay,
suppression of free speech.
Okay. So clearly, free speech is not an inherent thing that exists at all times in all places. It has been restricted before, and it can be again.
So you're gonna restrict my free speech to call your pronouns something else? Is that really?
No, I actually
such a
wouldn't
big
go
deal?
that far. I would just say, just don't be a dick.
Yeah, well, you're being a dick by not calling me handsome and beautiful.
No, because you're not entitled to your own adjectives. We've already been
Why
over
are you
this.
entitled to changing your pronouns if you are
Because
literally,
pronouns are personal and
assigned
adjectives
them
are not.
as your
I've already
XX
said
and
this.
XY
I've already
chromosomes?
said this. So you need to put your listening ears on.
You literally just said that I own my pronouns. You don't own the adjectives. I can
Because
take that away from you right now. I
pronouns
can
are
call you
personal
she, her.
and adjectives
Yeah.
are not personal.
Okay. Hello, she, her. All of a sudden, it's not personal. I just took that away from you.
Okay.
Right?
Do you
Because I can
understand
say what
the
I want.
difference? Do you understand the difference between pronouns being personal and adjectives being not personal?
Explain to me the difference, Stephen, please.
Because somebody else could call you beautiful or handsome, and somebody else might think that you're fugly. So they are inherently based on other people's perception of you. Pronouns are not. You decide what your pronouns are. I decide what my pronouns are, and a trans person decides what their pronouns are. It is inherently
okay.
a personal decision. What anybody else chooses to describe you as, therefore an adjective, that is
Okay, I've got a
entirely up
question.
to them.
Sure. In your basis of your argument, I would accept your argument unless you are saying that your personal pronouns can be changed on, documents like birth certificates, passports, etc. Because obviously police and, law enforcement need to identify whether or not you were born a man or born a woman. So obviously then the pronouns would change, or the
Well,
sex,
if
male,
they
female,
required
would
that
change, etc.
information, they would go to your birth certificate, because that would determine what your sex is. If they wanted to know your passport, if they wanted to know your gender, then they might look at your passport. But your sex, they would go to your birth certificate.
Sure, but you do accept that there is two sexes, male and female.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, but you think genders is something else?
Yeah,
They're social roles?
yeah, 100%. Do you? Sorry,
Okay, and
just as a quick question, do you accept that there is a difference between sex and gender, or do
absolutely,
you think that
there absolutely is a difference.
There
No,
is a
there's
difference?
definitely a difference.
Okay,
Yes, there
okay,
is a
okay,
difference. But
okay.
what I'm gonna say is that yes, I could magically change my pronouns or my gender, and I'm saying I don't identify as a woman. I identify as a cat or a dog or a animal or whatever I want because that's my gender now. Obviously, why would I force other people to call me that regarding my pronouns? Why would I have to force people to do that? That's what's happening nowadays, where obviously people are getting very, inciting violence. Like I'm yelling fire in a crowded theater, as you said previously, when I just call people their pronouns based on their scientific sex. You get me?
Wait, I'm sorry. My fucking ADHD just kind of just drifted off there. I'm really, really sorry. Could you just say that again? Even just like the
Sure.
last kind
If
of
I
half of it.
Sure, if I say my gender is whatever I want, I'm a woman now. I just changed my gender, etc.
Uh-huh.
Why does my changing of gender have to influence what other people call me?
Well, because I mean, it would. Well, I mean, it would matter now. So why wouldn't it matter if you changed it?
I mean, I think trying to restrict and trying to change people's speech is obviously wrong. Like, would people not have a universal standard of
Oh, changing
men,
speech
like man
is
or woman?
wrong?
Yes, changing speech when it comes to gender.
So is it just when it comes to gender, or are you applying that to all hate speech laws?
Oh, let's talk about hate speech, Stephen. I'm sure we'll have a good debate about that. I think like changing speech in general, like when it comes to genders, is just unnecessary. I think it's a waste of time. It's a waste of fucking brain energy that people are putting so much emphasis on everybody else calls them. Would we not have a universal system which is simple, it's straightforward, it's scientific, and just call them he, she, or fucking he, whatever the fuck, he, him, she, her? Would we not just do that instead of creating this whole plethora of fucking bullshit that everybody has to go by? It just doesn't make sense. Why would the latter not be more simple?
In what world was that an argument against hate speech laws?
No, we're not talking about hate speech, but we can if you want.
Okay, sorry, no, because you got very excited there and then went into the. Okay, wow, right, oh, I mean, oh Jesus Christ, dude. Yeah,
Take your time.
I just, okay, look, I'll just kind of, rather than kind of, asking you and stuff like that, I'll just kind of explain my kind of position, right? I think that gender is a social construct. I can see in about 20 years it just being abolished. There is no such thing as gender roles or gender norms or anything else like that. Everybody just does whatever the fuck they want. I
What a
think
great
that,
society. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, absolutely, fucking freedom, bitch. You're fucking American. You should be all for this. I think that the idea that people are even perceived as being limited by their gender is just absolutely ridiculous. I think that the idea that people historically have been kind of put into these kind of boxes of male and female, sometimes depending on dress codes, which of course that changes. Men were the first people to ever wear high heels, for example, but now they are uniquely a woman for are a they are inherently worn mainly just by females. So I mean, this entire thing is just, gender is just because it is a social construct. There is no kind of like scientific basis behind it. There is no kind of inherent written into the DNA code about what defines a man or what defines a woman, in the sense of what we are talking about, specifically social constructs. So
Yeah, but do you agree that normally women and men would be separated based on science? For example, hormones dictate, the interests of men.
I would agree that male and
women.
female would normally be separated based on science, and then going into hormones and stuff like that. Male and female would be, yes.
Yeah, but if you just said that a complete gender role abolished society where women and men have some sort of like fluid society where they can just do what they want and they are not specialized in nature, it doesn't really make sense.
How do you mean where they're not specialized in nature? What does that even mean?
Well, obviously, men with testosterone would be more the heavy lifters. They had more muscle production, etc. So they would be going and providing for the woman and the family, and the woman would be taking care of the children, as estrogen dictates the caring side of women. Obviously, that's why a lot more women are nurses. That's why a lot more women are teachers, etc. And that's why a lot more men are working in plumbing and like all the services and construction, etc.
Right. So what part of the DNA differentiates men and women, specifically where it dictates that more men are plumbers and more women are teachers? Where is that in the DNA code?
It's XX or XY DNA, but in terms of the actual like specialization in different things, it's hormones. That's testosterone and estrogen. Because the XX dictates the estrogen and the XY dictates the testosterone. Do you understand?
You. Oh my God. You think that because somebody produces testosterone, that makes them biologically more inclined to being a plumber, and because somebody has estrogen, that is making them more biologically inclined to being a teacher? You think that is written in the DNA code?
No, the DNA is XX and XY, but the hormones is the reason for it. You're just mischaracterizing the situation. And by the way, it looks like that I've just pronouned you with the exaggeration response, but go ahead.
Oh my God, above.
What if I said that's wrong? Stephen, would you not respond?
I don't even, I would love to, but I don't even know how to begin responding to the idea that you think that because someone produces estrogen that makes them more likely to be a teacher. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start with that.
Okay, all emotions.
Nothing to do with the hormone that they produce.
Okay, what is it to do with? Go ahead, Stephen, answer it.
That is a hangover from older fashioned, gendered, normal
not gonna answer the
roles.
question, okay.
That is an answer to that question. That is
No,
an answer
no.
to
No,
absolutely. That is an answer to that question.
That is absolutely wrong.
100% that is an answer to that question. If you don't like it, that is your problem. That is 100% an answer
It's
to
just
that
tradition,
question.
is what you're saying. It's
There
just
is-
tradition,
there
not
is
science at
no-
all.
Yes, 100%. There is nothing inherent.
that's
there is
a-
nothing.
that's a ridiculous
nothing,
claim, Stephen.
Absolutely nothing inherently that makes women better caregivers than men. Nothing.
Of course.
Nothing.
They literally
Absolutely
have breasts
nothing.
to feed the children. Hello?
What? Yeah, just caregivers. Caregivers. You're talking about as a profession now. You're talking about as a profession. So
Yes.
nurses, teachers, therapists,
Yes.
all of these things.
Yeah.
The production of estrogen does not make you better at those jobs.
Yeah, it absolutely does. If you think that it's just tradition,
Dude,
that's
I
just
don't
waffle,
know. I
Stephen,
don't know.
unfortunately.
I don't know.
Dude, we can
what-
move on. If you want to move on to censorship or whatever, we can move on.
I
The same
don't
thing
know
we did with
what
immigration
in the
and
name of
the minimum
God
wage.
level of fucking scientific education you have fucking received, but dude, you better have gotten receipts because you are owed a massive fucking refund. That is
Yeah, Stephen, I bet you're more
absolutely
educated than you are.
Wild. That is wild.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Wild.
I'm sure
More
it's
educated
wild,
than I
Stephen.
am, specifically when we're talking about psychology and sociology. I have 2 fucking degrees in it. How many degrees do you have as an 18-year-old? Get the fuck out of
Well,
here.
you literally have a psychology and sociology
Oh my
degree,
God.
and you still don't know that it's based on hormones. Of course, it's based on hormones.
It is. I have. Listen, my dude. I am so sorry. I have.
We
I
can
have
move on.
remained.
You wanna move on?
I have remained kind of cool, calm, and collected for a lot of different shit that you have said.
Sure.
That is while in 12 years
Okay.
of talking with people online, that is the wildest shit I have ever fucking heard in my life. I am so sorry to have to
You're-
put it
man, you're
in
welcome.
these harsh terms. I have neither the time nor the crayons to explain exactly
We
why
can
you
move
were
on. Do
wrong.
you want to move on, Stephen?
I would love to, but continuing to talk to you would be akin to ableism, and I'm not about that on my channel. So have a good one, man. That was literally wild. That was literally wild. The idea that somebody, because they produce estrogen, makes them more likely to be in a caregiving role. 100%, as has just been said in the live chat. It is all about old school social norms. That's it. It was expected that women are caregivers. They were for generations, over hundreds of thousands of years, they were basically forced into that role, and that's why they continued to do that, because it was socially expected of them. That was an awful lot of that was like fairly good and whatever else, and like there was like some like genuinely productive points there, but that was I swear to Christ, in 12 years of doing this, I have never had such a wild fucking statement said to me. Jesus Christ. Okay, wow. Yeah, my God, guys, we are sitting at, I have only just realized this, we are sitting at 13,000 likes on TikTok. That is absolutely fucking wild. But look, that conversation went on for a really long time. I've been streaming for about 2 hours now. I am going to leave it there. Genuinely, that's getting fucking clipped. YouTube Shorts, fucking look out for that. Jesus Christ. Okay. Wow. Thank you to absolutely everybody who has followed me since I have joined this, to everybody who has liked the stream. It is just absolutely amazing. My YouTube channel is in my link tree on my page. If you want to go over there, follow me on YouTube, because I do some other stuff on YouTube as well. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Just to everybody who has shown up. Genuinely, thank you so much. To every 13,000 likes, my dude. I cannot even fucking get over that. That's just insane. Wow. Okay. I don't know when the next time I am going to be streaming on TikTok is, but yeah, I will be streaming on YouTube on Saturday night. So definitely go over to the YouTube and then follow me there. Blah 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 blah. I am genuinely waffling now. Genuine from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. I will talk to you all again very soon. Oh my god. Okay, I did kind of forget that YouTube can still fucking see me. Jesus Christ. That was legitimately wild. Like legitimately wild. There is absolutely nothing based on fucking social norms or on fucking social norm. I'm even making fucking mistakes now. There is absolutely nothing based on what hormone you fucking produce that says that makes you a better caregiver or not as good a caregiver. That is just wild. Absolutely wild. My only kind of thing is that, like, he is 18, and well, at least he said he was 18 anyway. He has time to get himself educated. He has time to kind of change and stuff like that. But just Jesus Christ, holy shit! Oh my god. Okay, right. Signing off of YouTube. Genuinely, I will be back. Genuinely, I will be back on Saturday night. We're going to be talking about some more politics, or I'm going to be gaming, or I haven't fucking decided yet. Either way, like, subscribe, do all of that YouTuber bollocks, and I shall talk to you in the next one.